So we are back again here, and we are on week 2 of Bucks and Brews. So before we get to the Bucks portion, let's talk about the Brews portion. So got a couple fun ones this week. I got peach hard cider from Sierra Rose, Jaden James.
There you go.
Also a blueberry. And then if I get sick of those, I got a Henry's Hard.
There we go.
Nick, what you got going?
I got a sponsor this week from my brother. I got to give him a big shout out. Today is actually his birthday. He's traveling for work, so he's in Wisconsin, and he stopped and grabbed me some Hazy Rabbit from one of my favorite breweries out of Michigan, Lakefront Brewing. It's right on Lake Michigan on that side. They do tours. It's a really cool brewery over there, but I haven't had Hazy Rabbit. It's an IPA. Really excited. And then one I think you and I will both enjoy, especially the cartoon on it. It's called Diet Starts Tomorrow. It's a chocolate oatmeal stout. So it's for those that are listening and not watching. There's this very, very overweight cat in a very small workout shirt and like some weights on his paws. So I'm really excited for that one. Big shout out to my brother for sponsoring this alcohol consumption for me. So that brewery is Carbon 4 Brewing in Madison, Wisconsin. So I'm excited to try it.
I would say that by looking at that picture, I think they got either you or I to model for that picture because quite familiar.
Yeah, I know you're a cat guy, so I thought that would get you pretty well. It says Carpe Diem on his shirt. Seize the carp. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I gotta say that sounds delicious.
I'm very excited. Just so you guys know, here's a really fun fact. You can, if you don't have a bottle opener and you're a married man, the one good thing about your wedding ring is you just take it and you pop it open. So we do things like that. I've tried the IPA. I thought it was really good. Not too strong in that. The chocolate oatmeal stout, very exciting. Yeah, let's say smoothness, not like a bold full front flavor type thing. A good stout, just in general. So Wisconsin, we know that they do cheese. Apparently they're starting to pick up their beer game a little bit. So if anybody else wants to throw us some beers to try, give a small little review. We're definitely all about that. So
yes, we are.
Today's topic, David and I are actually really excited about. It's one thing that frustrates us with most people, right? We're talking about the economy itself. Not necessarily we're going to talk about how economics works and things like that, but like what defines our economy and is it working, is it not working? We hear a lot of people's opinions, and sometimes they just get these facts wrong, right? So we want to clear a couple things up for you guys. We're gonna touch on stocks, the stock market, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, things like that. We're going to get into depth on another episode of single stocks and things like that. But today we wanted to do a broader thing on what the economy looks like, so.
Well, and I really wanted to dive into this subject because I was arguing with some dumbass earlier today. Apologies if the dumbass is listening to this because, hopefully you are and you'll learn how stupid you really are.
Yeah.
I got into an argument because they were talking about how great the economy is because the stock market's just so high up. And I get sick of this argument, okay? And I really kind of broke it down for this person. I said, listen, rich people own a lot of stock. They make a lot of money in the stock market. It has nothing to do with the economy. Poor people have no money, so they don't put money in the stock market, so they're not making anything. Stocks are for either the rich or the forward thinking. Would you agree, Nick?
Yeah, I think, I try not to say it's just for the rich because we talk so much about 401ks. We talk about getting your money in there, right? I mean, there's the filthy 1% type thing, but we try to make this so it hits the masses. So I don't want to say it's just for the rich. Like, yes, when you have, when you own 1,000 of one stock and somebody owns one, they're making 1,000 times or losing 1,000 times. People forget that loss happens in such a big spurt, right? Like, so again, you get excited to make $2, they're excited to make $20,000. They get pissed when they lose 20,000. You get pissed when you lose $2. So, and
that's kind of why I qualify it as rich or forward thinking.
I say forward thinking. I really like that. I'm excited to dive into the stock market itself and what it's a little bit about. We got my little YouTube star here. Guys, I know we're talking about this. I want to take a quick second because she's really excited to play with one thing. We're going to be doing another couple small things for children, all the way from the ages of, when we think you should start teaching them money and investing. Yeah, it's this thing. You guys will see this, whoever watches it, and we're gonna talk about all the way up till we consider your parents taking care of you till like 18 for most people. So just a heads up, guys. We're gonna be my kid. Once I bought this little toy, she got excited, right? So it just proves like, hey, you just gotta find that little thing to help drive these kids with money. So
yeah. So again, when we're talking here about the economy and the stock market, obviously they're two different things. There's a lot that goes into whether we have a good economy or not. One of them is where our GDP stands at. And for those of you that don't know, GDP is gross domestic product.
Correct. Yeah.
So stuff we're making, stuff other people are buying. Go ahead, Nick.
I want to touch base just a little bit more on that, right? So it's things we're making, right? Things, not necessarily just selling, but things that we're right. So we heard back when Trump kind of first started this 4 years ago, one of his big things was to raise tariffs, and everybody's heard the tariff word. Well, so that's because we're bringing so much in. I mean, everybody makes the joke of, our hats are probably from China and they represent a USA team. Now we're both checking.
China.
So I didn't get to see where mine's from, but so, and it's this giant thing of, but here, right, in America, we have a lot of farmland. We give away a lot, or we sell a lot of our stuff. We do, back when you're, I guess my parents were young, my grandparents type thing, right? Pittsburgh was known as, the steel area, right? So we sell these steel beams. I mean, countries buy from us to build their buildings. So we export a lot more things than some people tend to think about. I mean, a Corvette is known here, but it's really expensive over there. Where you go to Europe and a Ferrari is cheap, but a Corvette's $1 million, and it's the opposite around here. So because it costs more to get here, but really it's again gross domestic and product. And so domestic means here, local, USA, domestic. And then everything is international besides that. So I don't want you guys to think we're thinking that you're dumb. Anything like that. We're trying to educate on what things actually are.
Well, and when we're talking about the GDP, it's basically the monetary value of these goods and services that Nick's been talking about. So, Pittsburgh, what used to be the steel capital of the world, it's the steel city. The defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers is the steel curtain. I mean, everything with them was steel. Everything with Detroit's always been auto, okay? Auto capital of the world because, Ford's there, General Motors is there, Chrysler's not far from there. So, I mean, you look at these things and that all factors into your GDP. And basically what they do is they use this to give an idea of how a country actually is growing, their economy and their actual country is growing based off of this gross domestic product. Okay.
Yeah.
So don't really want to take you too far into the weeds on that because
everybody got bored in high school learning about this stuff. So we don't want to bore you, but there is some people that, they might have fallen asleep back in high school And trust me, I did. It was just something I kind of knew. And then now that we're doing this, I just enjoy it a heck of a lot more. It's nerdy talk. Let's talk about it. So
Yeah, and it really is. So, and I mean, when we talk about GDP, so I pulled up some stats because I love stats. So earlier in the year, I don't know when this was updated, our GDP sat at $19.48 trillion. Okay. Tops in the world, China right behind us at 12.123 trillion, and Japan right behind them, but they're only at 4.87 trillion. And I mean, when you think about that, landmass wise, the United States and China are pretty big. Japan's this tiny little island. Most of the people, live in Tokyo or, nowhere, because
say, is there another? Yeah, no, and right, but it is right, but and we get honestly, we get a lot of our electronics. I mean, we get all of our electronics from over there. I mean, there's very limited stuff that's made here. One thing that I think we want to transfer into the stock market and how it doesn't represent the economy in a general. Everybody thinks that, again, as David said, because the stock market is high, the economy is doing well. No, that means that specific companies are doing well, right? I mean, the stock market, we've hit on it a little bit. You buy into a company in faith that they're going to grow. And if they grow, right, if they sell, then their stock usually goes up because they're going to build a new plant. Forgive us for talking about plants and the industrial side of things, because we're from the Midwest. That's kind of what our mindset is. I mean, we are Detroit area. So we will be talking a lot about that type of a thing, especially from my background. But right, so if I, and we know Tesla's a huge thing for me. They came out with the truck. A bunch of people, pre-bought the truck that's supposed to come out, and then say Tesla's competitor, right? The CEO just stepped down. What was Nikola, right? So the stock market, or the stock in that, the CEO just stepped down yesterday, and it their stock went down because at that point, it didn't plummet, right? It didn't go crazy, but at that point, their best thing, the number one leader, like the captain of the team, for some reason isn't the captain anymore, and everybody bet their money on this person leading them to success. So it's still a good product because it didn't plummet all the way. The idea is still there, but now they just have to get it back to a good leadership to get them all the way through it. So when you look at it, I know, let's say Nikola dropped like $7 today, and Tesla gained $7 today. So it was really, you just seen people said, hey, all right, Tesla's got the chance to make this happen. When we talk about what else makes the stock market, again, has been doing well because we haven't seen really the reduction of people buying things. Today is the 22nd. I know yesterday, the 21st, which was Monday, the stock market dropped 500 points, right? So what they do is they take a big lump. Again, I'm not trying to educate you guys so in depth, but they take a big group of stocks, and then they take how much those technically lost, and that becomes the loss for how much the average of the whole thing. But it dropped 500 points, and there's talk about, well, because we haven't seen another stimulus come out, we haven't seen money keep going into the economy, we haven't seen people buying all of these things that they used to buy on a regular basis, right? So the growth in that technically hasn't gone up. So these companies are, on that exact day, it's saying that these companies aren't ready to expand. When they're ready to expand, they go. Every time the new Apple gets announced, the iPhone, right? We watch it. Nintendo throws out theirs. We watch it. Coke. When Coke's been around forever, and they constantly grow, and they're constantly, they're not growing to the point of Amazon where they're opening 1,000 warehouses every minute, but Coke will open a new thing, and they'll come out with a new line, right? We all, or even Pepsi, right? We talk about Crystal Pepsi or Pepsi Blue or Code Red came out. So they try all these things, and then they go up a little bit. So most people don't understand that they didn't stop making another product. They created another product, and let's say they're at 100% capacity with these products. Well, the new product that they put in, they have to build room for that capacity. They have to build a new line to pour that drink. They have to do all this. So that's why it grows there. And if it takes off, right? So Code Red, we can all agree, Code Red took off. It stayed on the shelf. It's doing amazing things, and it's been around for years. Now it's just a normal thing. So that, if you go back to when Code Red came out, look at the stock price where it was, look at it when it came out, and then look at it to where it is. I wish I had. Everybody talks about retro old school Crystal Pepsi.
That's
It didn't.
exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah, so we all like it, but it didn't stick, right? I mean, not now we want it because it's a thing. I was a Surge kid, right? When Surge came out, it was like the most sugar and all that. Now it's back out, but it didn't have that same impact, right? So I want to just keep pounding on the fact that with the stock market, it's not the economy selling things, right? It's businesses developing more, getting bigger. That doesn't mean they're selling more. That just means they're getting bigger. When you buy space, you don't actually, you technically spent money on space. You didn't sell a product at that point. So if something fills it in and sells, then yes, we've gained there in the economy. But if it doesn't, then they go back. So, and big companies attempt to try to make sure they get something to fill that space. So,
well, I'm going to relate this, and I'm going to use Nike as my example because I love using them as an example. So when we're looking at things, Nike obviously sells to consumers. They sell to corporations as well. And when we want to look at the health of Nike as a whole, we look at, okay, what's their revenue? What does their profit loss look like? What's their stock price looking like? So when 2 years ago, Colin Kaepernick, he got signed to Nike and he was exclusive, and they did this, do it for a reason or don't do it at all, or whatever that thing was, one of their just do it campaigns, and it centered around Kaepernick, and everybody's like, screw that, he kneeled, I'm not buying anything Nike. And the stock price was going to go in the tank. I bought a bunch of Nike stock. Nike stock at the time was around $68, $70 a share. It's up to $129 as of my last check, like an hour and a half ago.
Sure.
So when we're looking at Nike, we know that Nike has been the leader in sports equipment since the late 70s. So we're talking 40 years. It's extremely popular because it has been the leader for 40 years. A lot of people use it. They have, agreements with, like, the National Football League, for example, supplies all uniforms. All of them are Nike. They all have the swoosh on it. So when we're looking at it, we know that Nike's very healthy, and if you're investing in that, you're probably making money. But does that necessarily mean the economy is good? It definitely does not, okay? We can't equate that to the economy because that's just is a company doing well. So when we're looking at the stock market, we can say, okay, Nike as a whole is doing really well. Their stock's really high. Disney's doing great. Their stock's really high. And then we look at some other stocks that maybe aren't as high, and they've been dropping, or maybe they went out of business. So, to use an example here, Nick, if I was going to offer you 1 share of Nike stock or 10 shares of JCPenney's, which one are you taking?
I'm going to take the Nike stock.
And why?
Well, I mean, right, because JCPenney's, now that we know that JCPenney's trying to file bankruptcy, or they might have already done that, right, their history just isn't constantly there. They're not looking, again, they were talking about closing stores. They're not talking about expanding and opening, right? You don't see JCPenney ads out there. You don't see these big things. So, right, when people are marketing and trying to push for more things, that means they have potential to grow. When they're talking about closing stores and laying off people, yeah, no, if they rebound, yeah, I'd hit $1 million, but I'm more conservative. I'm going to take that guaranteed chance if I only have the choice of 10 or 1, and that's where all my money lies. I'm taking the 1 stock.
Well, and when we look at it, really it's so many things factor into that stock price. So, Nike's not making shoes in Chicago, Illinois. They're not making shoes in Los Angeles. They're making shoes in Thailand. They're paying, $1.50 for a pair of shoes. They make a pair of Jordans, it's $1.50.
Yep.
They come over here and they sell for $150. That's huge profit. Even with the fact that, they have to ship it over here, they're still making a huge profit, which again goes back into what Nick was talking about earlier. A lot of the stuff we have made in China. It's cheaper to import that stuff, which, that makes Nike very healthy, a great investment. Has nothing to do with the economy whatsoever. It's not making my life any better unless I'm a stockholder.
Yeah. Well, and I want to talk one more. You kind of hit on a little bit of things that I want to talk about. I'm trying not to get too political on this stuff because we're about money, right? So Colin Kaepernick signed, right? And you said a bunch of people said that they were gonna stop buying Nike. Okay, well, the amount of people that are buying Nike, the people that said they're going to stop buying were probably people that weren't buying. You figure, let's say 50% of them were probably not buying Nike in the first place. And, if they did, it was one pair of shoes. Now, Nike, again, they have the NFL, right? And the NFL, yeah, they tried to do however you want to look at it with Colin, right? Whether they pushed him out or whether he just wasn't, I don't think he was the greatest quarterback in the first place, doesn't matter. But Nike was like, all right, hey, here, we're going to go here because we see that people like David are like, oh, I heard that these people are going to stop buying. I'm going to start buying because they want to support. So on one side, there's the anti-support, and on the other side, there's support, right? So when you talk about Taiwan, where the shoes are made, okay, I've heard it a million times from so many people. Oh, man, child labor laws, and they don't, they don't use children. And sometimes there's always videos that pop up every 10 years that show a child, in a shop. Yes, we don't have the same rules here where anybody under 18 can't walk into a factory. Over there, who knows, But there's the 1% of people that just won't buy it because they think that this is what's happening. But there's always those other people that are just gonna buy it because it's a good deal. It's what they want. It's exactly what it is. They don't actually care about that ramification, right? We can go into that about vegans versus people that eat meat. I mean, these people just stand for what they are, and that's what they hold to, right? It doesn't. Everybody's getting on this vegan train. You haven't seen the meat prices. We see meat go up because there's a shortage right now. But people are like, oh, this is what it is. So for every one that there is somebody that's doing something, there's somebody that's not doing it, right? So it equals itself out, and they already have that number planned. Next thing I want to talk about is, we talk about Nike being in every sport pretty much, right? So you talk about bad publicity and things like that. So Tiger Woods was the Nike guy for golf. He was the biggest thing. Okay, well then Tiger did something, and it officially was like he was sponsored by them, and he had his own video game with Nike on there. Nike was making hand over fist with Tiger. Well, Tiger screwed that up. Nike seen that, they were starting to get losses, and Nike was smart and was like, hey, we're just done. Nobody's going to give us nobody's going to generate that amount of money for us because these new guys are using Titleist and Ping, and they're playing with all these new things that are coming out. So they said, all right, we're done with golf, and so they stopped making that, right? And so Nike's they've been around forever. They know when to make these cuts. They know when to do this for the company. They're going to constantly, everybody that plays sports, right? They're proud to rep that Nike swoosh right in their jersey. I mean, look at the Jordans, right? Didn't University of Michigan sign with Jordan, which is Nike? I mean, that had sales, right? I mean, we go into the Washington football team, right? So the amount of people that bought Washington Redskins stuff when it was the Redskins, they made money. Now everybody's going to buy all this new stuff. So, that's the whole thing of changing teams and changing whatever. So
everybody knows this. We've talked about this before. I coach high school softball. I'm now an assistant after being a head coach for many, many years. And I'm not going to mention the school since, I am sitting here drinking. And the last time I was drinking on video and people saw it, I got fired from a job. So, Nick, ask me whose apparel we have to buy as part of the school I'm at.
So, in the school that you're at?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So, David, I didn't know this, but you guys have to buy. Who do you have to buy as the school that you're part of?
Nike sponsors us.
Really? That's all right. So I didn't know that.
High school.
David and I come from an inner city school, and not inner city, but just it wasn't high. So
They were inner city.
if we had to buy Nike, man, we couldn't afford that stuff. So, um, you know, but no, wow, you guys have so, and that's the thing. Like, they get contracts with high schools. They get contracts. I mean, I know my daughter's in gymnastics, right? And guess what, right? When you want to go into the competitive side, guess what? They have contracts with certain people. So that's kind of where it's at. When we talk about each stock is each individual company. It is not America as a whole, because America, again, whether it's Trump, whether you're a Trump supporter, you guys are going to buy certain things. Whether you're a Biden supporter, you're going to buy certain things, right? It doesn't matter what you are. You're just so used to buying things. And yes, there's something that comes out every once in a while that changes your opinion on something. But we look at we're going through COVID right now, and I think this is a big thing to constantly bring up. Um, if you watch any of the stocks that are in the medical field that have anything to do with COVID, when you hear an announcement that says, "Oh, we might have a test kit or something," right? So then you watch that stock that gets approved to do the test kits, and then it'll plateau because they've already been approved and they do whatever. So now they have to figure out, can we make a faster test kit? And then they grow, or if they get denied, they plummet because they don't have that maintained, right? So they tried to grow and they failed, or they tried to grow and they succeeded. We talk about vaccines. If you look at the medical for that, watch all these stocks. They get really close to a vaccine and what they're trying to practice, and people go, "Yep, this is the one that's going to hit." And then the what is it, FDA doesn't approve it, right? FDA doesn't approve it, and so the stock plummets, right? So it didn't happen. So if it happens, it sticks and it goes, but it doesn't. That means that company can officially sell products. So I know we talked about Disney real quick, but you're a big Star Wars guy, huge Star Wars, and when you watch Disney stock, when what we as normal people with normal money look at, and they paid who was the guy that wrote Star Wars?
George Lucas.
Right, they paid him what, like $8.2 billion or something like that?
Some crazy number.
Right, and so everybody's like, "Oh, that's insane! I can't believe it." And they've come out with like 6 movies since they bought it. They've come out with all these toys. They've come out with everything. They've created an entire park, for Harry Potter people, right? I mean, look at Disney. So you keep wondering how Disney can grow because they tear down the old and they build something specific to a thing. Harry Potter's got this own section. They sell all the Harry Potter characters, everything about it. They make money on everything, right? It's insane to me. So just know that each business, and whatever you can think of, there's some type of a stock behind it.
Well, and this brings up a great point. So Nick brings up Disney and Star Wars, and for those of you that don't know, I like to wear costumes and stuff. Okay, I go to Comic Cons, love it. So I'm part of a Star Wars costuming group that is actually recognized by LucasArts, which is owned by Disney. And we have certain requirements that we have to do for Disney to allow us to do what we do. And most of what we do is charity events. We do, hospital visits or epilepsy walks, or, some of the other fun stuff we do. We do like baseball games. We'll go in during their Star Wars night and dress up and, stuff like that. But if we don't adhere to what their policies are, they'll put the kibosh on that, and we don't get to do any of that stuff anymore, because we are using their licensed apparel, basically. I mean, they're not selling it, we're making it, but they own it, so I can go out and make a stormtrooper helmet, but that's their intellectual property. So if I'm trying to charge people money to take a picture with a stormtrooper, they're not going to be real happy with that. They're going to put the kibosh on that because they own it.
Yeah. It goes back to when we were young kids, right? We always laughed at the petty thing on VHSs, if anybody knows VHSs. But no, DVDs have the same thing, right? Don't copy, $25,000 fine, right? Because this company owns the right to sell that video. You're just trying to make $5 off of it. They're trying to make their $5, right? So they own the right to make that $5. You own zero rights to make money,
Right.
right? I'm gonna date myself, or I'm gonna date myself depending on who you are. But LimeWire or FrostWire, right? When you were pirating songs, I mean, that's when iTunes kind of started up, because they were like, hey, we'll charge 99 cents a song. We'll do all these things. David's laughing because he's like, he was already up
Napster.
there, and I was a kid doing this stuff. Yeah, Napster.
Napster was mine.
Right. But you can't take, so again, if a stock can't grow without money, and you can't make money if you're letting other people have it for free. So the old saying is nothing in life is free, and that's a very true statement. So,
So we did an episode a couple weeks ago talking about Dan Price from Gravity Payments, right? So if you guys have not followed Dan Price on Twitter, you are missing out. This guy is a fantastic follow, and a lot of times he's talking about what he's done with his company and what the problem is with the current economy we live in. And I watched a interview he had the other day, and he was talking about how, through this entire pandemic, we're sitting here and, we got a stimulus, which basically amounts to about $6 a day, if you got $1,200 since the pandemic started. And billionaires have gained like 40% wealth during that time. I'm saying 40, it could be more or less, I don't know, but it was a lot. And how sickened he is by that. And he started talking about trickle-down economics, which trickle-down's another thing I got into a fight with somebody the other day about. Let me tell you right now, for every Nick and David that are out there that are sitting there going, you know what, I just do this because I enjoy it, there's 100,000 people that don't enjoy helping anyone, okay? They're just looking to better their bottom line. So they're not trickling anything down. Nick and I are sitting here. We're talking about things. We did a real estate episode last week. He gave away some of his secrets on what to do. We did how to buy your first house with TJ and Danny a month or 2 or 3 ago, whatever it was. And he told them specifically, because they're like, yeah, I don't know if I can buy a house because, I'm stuck in this lease. And he goes, yeah, negotiate the buyout of the lease into your purchase of the house. You know what? I'm 43 years old. Nick's 10 years younger than me. I never heard of that before.
Most people, nobody's ever heard of that, right? Like, that was the only reason I thought of it is because I know that if a tenant comes to me, I'm going to say, hey, look, it came to me because a friend of mine is a real estate. He's an investor, but he's also an agent. And he goes, if you buy with me as your agent, I'll let you out of your lease. And because basically he's paying himself to break the lease. So that's kind of where it came from. And it just, right, you learn knowledge, and I'm willing to give that type of stuff away. I have to go back and praise David. I'm sorry, guys. Right, him and his wife, they do. Yes, we if you're not watching, right, you think it's funny when somebody says they dress up. I tell David, it's hilarious that you guys dress up in character. We have our fun, but the impact that these people make in other people's lives, and they don't get paid a dime for it, right? I know I've donated plenty of toys, right? So I go to a spot and I see a Star Wars toy on clearance, and I'm like, I'm buying these because I know that second I see a photo of anybody holding that, there's a possibility that I impacted a life, and they did it through them having it be there. So I want to give a huge kudos to you guys for paying out of your own pocket to be a character, and for donating all of your time and everything. So that's really, it's a huge thing, guys. Granted, I did make free beer today, but we don't make any money off this stuff, and hopefully someday we do, but I'm pretty positive we'll end up giving back because that's who we are. So, I say I'm sitting here with, we talked about it in the beginning, I'm sitting here with fake money in front of me. And, money, we talked about it in an old episode, used to be backed by gold. Now it's not backed by gold anymore, right? So the economy is a matter of jobs, right? So yes, jobs has a part to do with it, because the idea of a job means that somebody is making money. And we know that anybody that makes money, there's not a single person in this world that makes money that doesn't spend a dime. I guarantee you, if you live in your parents' basement, even at age, any age you are, I don't care. If you're a young kid, you go out and mow grass because you have something you want to buy. If you live in your parents' basement, yes, let's say you save every penny for 2 years, every penny in your parents fund everything, aka Caitlin. So, but so if you save every penny, eventually you're gonna buy probably a house or a property of some sort. You're going to buy something. You're going to spend it. You're going to stimulate that economy. And when we say stimulate the economy, it means investing money into the economy. Whether it's, again, David did it when he bought his, he bought plastic, he bought his robes, whatever. Anything you buy helps to stimulate the economy. So the economy has a normal. Let's say David and I mean, David, he eats out probably once a week. Now I don't eat out very much because the job thing. But right, I used to be the guy who would eat out breakfast, lunch, and dinner every weekend because that was family time, and we wanted to just constantly be gone and special and stuff like that. And we eat out during the week. We get busy. We're young. So we were helping businesses. We were doing these things. So the world is growing. Now, yes, the economy looks good right now, but not everybody's back to work. People are still on unemployment. Unemployment's helping, but they haven't guaranteed that extra $300 per person right now. So I mean, we're gonna see a big turn here very, very shortly. People aren't gonna be able to afford bills. People aren't gonna be able to afford to go out to eat. I mean, people are still gonna do it. They're just not gonna afford it. Now, let me be clear about that one more time. People cannot afford it. They're still going to do it. So we have this fake right now. And yes, you might say I'm lying and it's whatever, but no, everything catches up with people in the normal of things. So, right, you had the trucks back when the COVID hit, like 2 months in. If everybody remembers, cars, trucks, blah blah, 0% interest. So, a bunch of people went and bought cars. Well, they thought they were going back to their job, and some of those people are not. So those cars are going to get turned back over. People didn't have the money to pay for it. They borrowed it, and it's going to get turned back over. So that's where that economy is going to start taking the hit. Granted, we're short on cars, right? And so it's going to take a while because we're short on used cars because nobody was trading. There was a bunch of people that were smart for the first time. They didn't go do this, but there's still people that did it, right? And still people that couldn't afford it. And so they thought they were going, oh, I'll get a job. The economy's good. Oh, I'll do. And everybody plays I'll get through it. No. I'm a very, yes, I'll make this payment. Yes, it's secure. Yes, it's a guarantee. Granted, there's still 5% or whatever percent that it's not going to happen. But when you're in that high percentage and guarantee it, yes. But let's say you're the person that bought something, and people are out, they got their stimulus money, right? I know a crap ton of people that went out and bought something big. They, let's say it's a whole family. That's $2,400 for a husband and a wife, and let's say they have no kids. $2,400. They went and bought a new TV, right? And now we're 3 months later. Guess what? Some of those people are on my Facebook. Oh man, I need the other stimulus. I ain't got no money. And it's just like, so I'm already seeing it from my people that are not financially smart in what they're doing. So I personally think that we're in this fake economy right now, where it does look good, but think about every restaurant is at half capacity here in Michigan. Everything is at half of whatever. So yes, they're doing to-go orders. So let's say they're at 75%, but still, I mean, eventually these jobs, I know personally being the financial person I am, and I'm not everybody, but I know that I instantly made that stop of I'm not going out. I wish I could support you, but I can't. I wish I could do this, but I can't because as a human, I have to care about myself. As a husband, as a provider, I have to worry about me. And it's so hard to say that because everybody's like, I always learned that young, right? Take care of number one first and then worry about others. And so, yes, to me, giving back right now and what we're doing is giving back. So I still feel fulfilled in giving, right? Because I used to be the person to provide for a lot of people. So.
Well, and when we look at it, so, let's just, call it what it is. So there's big business and there's small business. And we kind of talked about that a little bit here. So let's use Walmart as an example. And because it's near and dear to my heart, let's use break room therapy. So if you've listened to any of our shows or watched any of our shows, you know that my wife owns a business. It's called Break Room Therapy. You come and you break shit. So if you go to Walmart and you spend $100 at Walmart, that money goes to Walmart corporate basically and gets distributed throughout, the United States. If you come to Break Room Therapy and spend $100, the money stays here. I pay bills in Byron Center, Michigan. Okay? I buy groceries in Wyoming, Michigan, or Grand Rapids, Michigan, or Kentwood, Michigan. I write my utilities to companies that are Michigan based, whether it's Consumers Energy or whether it's DTE. It doesn't really matter. They're Michigan based. The money stays in my local community. It doesn't do that if you go and shop at Walmart. It just goes wherever they send it to, because it's not a small local business. Nick and I, we hung out a lot this summer because he's got a pool. So you're hot, it's 95 degrees out, you want to cool down. Hey Nick, what are you doing? Yeah, come on over, use the pool, we'll throw some hot dogs on the grill, we can drink some drinks. And literally, this is what happened every time we were done swimming. Nick, what happened every time we were done swimming? What did Emerson say?
Oh, can we go get ice cream?
Can we go get ice cream? Nick, did we ever get ice cream at McDonald's?
We never got ice cream at McDonald's, no.
Where did we get ice cream from?
I think it's called Dairy Den or Dairy something. Dairy Treat. It's
a small little
mom and pop shop right around the corner from
Yep,
me.
in Jenison, Michigan.
Yep.
So we go and we spend, as a family, we probably spend $10. You probably spend $15 because you got an extra person.
Yep.
So we spend $25 there. Where do you think that money goes to? It goes to Jenison, Michigan, because they probably live in the community.
Yep.
And they're spending their money in their community.
Well, I say, and yes, there's some of it, right? Not all of it, but some of it does go out when they go on vacation. But we all pay federal taxes. So this company paid federal taxes. So I don't know the exact nut figure. What is it? 15% goes to federal, 5% goes to state, which is still Michigan, and then they pay their employee off of that. But that employee is probably buying clothes, and if they buy clothes, it's probably going, again, to a big brand store. Let's be honest, kids nowadays, I don't know what the popular stuff is. I'm not a young, hip kid. I never was. But, like, back when I was a thing, it was like Aeropostale, Hollister, and, but I know there's still things like that. But that's a big corporation. So when David talks about it,
Nick.
What's that?
Not to interrupt, we employ a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
She wears all Nike.
Yeah. And that's right. So, I mean, even if you support Nike, right, that money goes to them. But we go back to Walmart and, so Sam Walton. And so when you buy at Walmart, yes, okay. So 5% of that purchase goes to people here. 95 of that, another 5% goes to the building that's here. Another 20% goes to the taxes. But then you have 70% that's going away, right? So 70% is going to this pocket of this person who's going to invest into other companies or their company, and they're going to open new locations, and they're gonna. I mean, we all know it, right? So what is it? Five of Sam Walton's top heirs are on the top 100 richest people, right? So they're either A, hoarding money, or B, they're on their big giant yachts. And so yes, the yacht company made money that one time, but it's not like they're buying a new one every day. So, it's this thing that you guys have to look at where when we as people are spending our money, we're supporting the local, and the next is local, and the next is local, and the next above that, right, is going to big corporations. I mean, so, and we have to have big corporations to make America go. I mean, that's a huge thing, right? If we tried to make a car ourselves, it would cost us $100,000. And granted, trucks nowadays are nearly that. If we made a truck, it would cost us $100,000 to machine way more than that. Let's be honest. It's probably 500,000. Have somebody machine it, have somebody do everything to build a mold, to do all that. But if you can mass produce things, right, that's how they get it down to $60,000 nowadays for a truck. I still want to do an episode about why things are so pricey. I think that's a big thing for me. It frustrates me so much. But again, the economy has, again, so we talked about employment and how it represents what the economy looks like, because if people are spending money, if they have jobs, they spend money. So that stimulates the economy, right? If people are investing money, that stimulates the economy. Yes, the stocks and all that are part of the economy. It's a part of it. So yeah, but it doesn't represent the whole thing. It represents a small amount for what it actually is. We see that, again. We talked about, COVID shut down a bunch of places for quite a while. So we seen stocks were really slow at that time. You didn't hear everybody go, "Oh, the economy is horrible." No, these places weren't making money. The economy wasn't horrible. The economy was technically shut down for a little bit. I mean, personally, right? Europe, they shut down everything and they made it buy type thing. But when people are buying houses, I'm a real estate guy. So when you're buying a house, you're stimulating that economy. So you're purchasing property strictly here in this location. You're giving that realtor money. They're if you work for a big large company, Keller Williams or something, right? So Gary Keller is making a bunch of money because his name's on this thing, but he's built himself to that point. But most of your money is going back to the agent itself, and they're probably the one putting their name on your kid's uniform that says, "Hey, Nick Watkins Real Estate," type of thing, or whatever it is. I'm not a realtor. So, but right. So these small businesses, and yes, once in a while you'll get a Meyer to throw it out there, but it's probably because the mom or dad is the manager of something, and they got them to get it. But Walton's technically didn't throw out their money for it. It was petty cash that they're like, "Yep, sure, let's do this." So you go to big league things like PNC Park, or you go to Ford Field. Yes, okay, that money specifically comes out of the company because they've made money and they're trying to drive up. So,
well, and, if you want to stimulate the economy, you don't give money to rich people. Okay, rich people have money. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't give the money to the rich people. You give it to the poor people, because the poor people are the ones, A, that need the money, and B, are going to spend it. So you find lower class or lower middle class, or even at this point middle class, if you can find any middle class people, and you give them $1,000. And most of them are not paying a debt. Most of them are not putting that money in savings. I mean, Nick and I are. The majority of them are spending that money. They're like, "Hey, I need a new TV. My TV sucks. I'm going to go spend $100 on a TV."
Yeah.
Or,
well,
I haven't bought some groceries in a while, so I'm going to go buy some groceries.
I was saying, you brought up a good point, right? So money into savings. Okay. So the banks stimulate the economy in general, right? So we don't think about it because 90% of America doesn't make enough money to be the bank. So when I throw my $250 into the savings account, they put mine with David's, with my buddies and all my friends. So technically we buy one person's car, right? So they take all of our money and they loan it out to one person, and they say, "Okay, we were the source to get all your money. We're going to loan it out." And then they make their 4% or whatever the heck the crazy number is on loaning that money out, and that's how the bank makes money to pay for their tellers. And the more they do it, and the more people pay that bill, the better that bank does, and then the better they can, and that drives up the economy by saying, "Hey, there's more money to lend, there's more money to be borrowed," right? The same with a house, right? It takes a 30-year mortgage. It's your biggest purchase. I mean, here, what, $250,000. And we have $10 million houses. We have, I'm looking at a house tomorrow for 40,000, right? Granted, Muskegon has houses for five grand. But you still, I think let's just stick with normal numbers of what you can loan on, and that's $40,000. If you borrow $40,000, you're paying back 5% over a 30-year period. So you're making a buttload of money off that. And if anybody, that's why we harp on, hey, pay your house off early and do this, because honestly, you're just paying somebody interest. You're giving money to keep letting other people borrow money. So the more you keep paying it back. So let's say you buy a $100,000 house, you're going to pay $100,000 worth of interest. So you're double buying your house. Well, now they have $200,000 to loan out, right? And granted, it happens faster than that. But so now the more that they do it, let's say every 10 houses, they can just keep giving more and more people $100,000, $100,000, $100,000, $100,000. And so then these people are all, by the 100th person, that's $100,000 each person that they keep throwing it out there. So, the more that we can invest, the better that economy is technically doing.
Well, and when we're talking about economy, we touched on it in the beginning. Stock market is not an indication of what the economy is doing. Whether you're looking at the NASDAQ or the Dow Jones or the S&P, it doesn't matter. It's not an indicator. Nick, what for me is a big indicator on how the economy is? Interest rates on my checking or savings accounts.
Huge.
Because if a bank's sitting there going, hey, I'm going to give you 3, 4, 5% on your checking or savings account, you can guarantee the economy's doing well. They need you to invest your money with them so they can loan it out to other people. When the economy's doing poorly, they're giving you 0.5%, 0.75%. I can tell you right now that, my daughter has an account with Ally. It's just a savings account. It started at like 1.5%. And I think right now it's at 0.75%.
Yeah, I think mine is at like 0.15. It's nothing, right? Like it's crazy. It's not even a percent. And so, right, I don't see it as a successful economy, let's say, right? But we are trying to make strides to get there. I believe that. But and this pandemic doesn't help. It doesn't help move money around. I mean, we talked about, I think we hit it quite well with the coin shortage episode, where right, people aren't spending money to get the coins back. So when you get coins, you move it over to the next company, and they get those coins, and then they keep moving it, right? So this money is only moving to one spot and not moving to the next, right? It doesn't keep going and going and going. It goes to one and stays, right? So I go out and I just buy a box of spaghetti, and it costs me $1.70. I take the 30 cents, I put it in my pocket, and I come home, and that's where it stays. I don't take that 30 cents and put it back into, a new pan for the spaghetti. Let's say so it's doing one and done. And when you're one and done, you're not moving things. Things aren't going and growing.
So I saw a story yesterday, and we're getting towards the end of this one, but I got to share this story because Nick brought up coin shortage. There's this kid, I want to say he's 10, 12 years old, somewhere in the United States. I don't remember where, saving up for a computer. And he heard about the coin shortage, and he's like, hey, I'm going to roll all of my coins, and I'm going to turn it into the bank. Nick, do you know how much money he had in coins?
Probably as much as my kid right now. $200?
He had like $9,000 in coins.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow. For that young? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's insane. The kid was saving for a computer. I don't know if he wanted to buy a computer, that they have at MIT that's worth like, $1 million or some shit, but come on.
Yeah, I think I'm on a computer that cost me $212 or something, I
spent like $600 on mine.
Yeah. No, that's
and
right, so,
and here's the other thing, not to interrupt you, Nick, but you hear a story like that, and aren't you sitting there going, man, I could send that kid a $500 computer right now? I totally could. And I'm sure everybody else is, so I'm not going to send the kid a $500 computer, but I want to.
Well, and I think the thing to learn from that is, right, that kid is learning how to save already. Granted, he's not making money on his money because he's got the change sitting at home, but we have to have a talk with that kid. But and one thing that's great about that is, right, this is showing that this is, to me, that's showing that this kid is officially, right. He goes back to the point I was saying, where, yeah, if you're not spending a dime, eventually you will, right? Because he has that end goal in mind, so he's gonna spend that money, right? Nobody sits on it forever. So, um, I think when it comes to the economy, we look at how much is being sold of our personal made stuff, right? Um, so, and that does do with small business things, right? Because I mean, that usually is a domestic product, usually, and so I guess I judge the economy on small businesses and if they're succeeding for the most part, right? Because everybody's doing these Etsy shops, everybody's doing eBay. eBay is a lot of used stuff, but Etsy, right, it's usually brand new homemade type things and stuff like that. So, right, if people are buying those types of things, then they're doing well. Or if people are coming into break room therapy, right, they have money, they have extra money to spend. Yeah, I mean, there's probably people that are spending on a credit card and it'll catch up with them. But so if you have extra money to do things, you're helping that. So, but we've seen it. We talked about it. There's a giant list going around of all these small businesses that are going out of business, and so you can't have a society based off of just large corporations, right? It's you know, uh, you look at China, and again, there's everybody thinks that China, all it is just manufacturing of products to come here. But when you open your eyes, you go and you see there's every street vendor making 15 cents off of. And granted, they don't sell corn dogs, but they're selling a corn dog for 15 cents. There's all these little markets along the side. They're peddling money. They're doing anything they possibly can to make it happen. So I judge of the economy a lot on small business, because if small businesses are getting money to open a business or getting money to grow a business or anything like that, that is a successful economy to me, right? People are lending money, people are borrowing money, people are getting approved for money.
And that's a fantastic point. The better small business does, the better the economy's doing. Right now, obviously, it's difficult because, pandemic and all. A lot of small businesses are going out of business. So what do you do to help that? Go spend money at your small businesses. Stop buying groceries at Walmart. Go buy it at, Horrocks or Ken's Market or the corner liquor store.
Yep, or good deals, anything like that.
Yeah.
So everybody's got a small mom and pop's grocery store. I mean, we talk about here in the Midwest, Meijer, nationwide, Walmart, right? But I mean, there's always that something, right? Just south of us, there's Felposh's, which, yeah, a lot of stuff comes from Family Fare, but they're still mom and pop owned, right? So buy at these places.
When I was a kid, I going to school in Plainwell. I went to Cooper Elementary, which, for anybody that knows the, Plainwell, Kalamazoo area, Cooper's a very small township south of here. And they have a corner market that's called Gill's.
Yep.
I used to get garbage pail kids or baseball cards from Gill's because my grandmother worked there as a cashier. She wanted something to do while she was retired. So she would be there as a cashier, and every time she went to work, she'd come home with a pack of garbage pail kids or a pack of Topps trading cards or Donruss or Fleer or whatever. And I was always excited when she went to work because I knew I was getting something when she came home. My mom burned all the garbage pail kids because she wasn't real good at money, but hey.
No, and that's right. So the more things are getting bought that are local here, the better it's getting done. So I would say, there's not many local companies. I mean, yes, they're big, large corporations, but it takes a lot just to get into the stock market, right? You have to have a certain worth. You have to have a certain potential just to open up for investors to invest with you. I look at for anybody that's a board game player, right? What is it? Kickstart. Kickstart has a lot of small town people trying to push their little product, right? So if those things are doing successful and you're getting investors, right? That's where you see success kind of come from. So, um, I hope that we touched base enough for without diving into schooling on economy and how it actually revolves and how it works um, to educate you guys. If you have any questions specific on what you're seeing and that we're not seeing type of a thing, we'll give you educated answers of what we find educational. We'll debate you. We'll do anything. So leave your comments below if you're on podcast, because that's what we're doing with Bucks and Brews. Very exciting. Right? Give us a review. We hope it's an amazing one. As always, YouTube people, like, subscribe, share. Podcast people, subscribe to the channel because you're going to want to hear this lovely voice for the rest of your life. So,
well, and just to hit on the podcast people for a minute here. So we started doing this in, I want to say, late April, early May. So we have a whole lot of YouTube episodes that are out there, and if you want to see us, because we are just so handsome, you can sit here and look at us, and that's great. But podcast wise, we've only got 2 episodes out there right now. We're gonna, I'm gonna just kind of sparsely throw in some here and there. So if you haven't watched the YouTube show, make sure you're subscribing on the podcast, because you never know what we're going to talk about. Some of them will be a little more timely than others. Obviously, we did pandemic episodes at the beginning of the pandemic that, if I drop them a month from now, aren't nearly as timely as they were back then. But hey, like Nick said, like, subscribe, share, let your friends know. We got a lot of stuff to share with you, and really we would love your questions. We'd love your comments. We'd like to know what you want to hear about, because we sit here and talk about the stuff we like, and we'd like to talk about the stuff you like.
Yeah. I say, you never know when we're going to find something that we like that we forgot that we liked. So,
absolutely.
If it's money related, I'm guaranteeing we're going to like it. So,
yeah.
Big shout out again to my brother, but also Lakefront Brewing for a great IPA. Carbon 4 Brewing in Madison, Wisconsin. Great chocolate oatmeal stout. I'm not going to rush out to buy it, but I will definitely drink it, and I'll stop into the brewery when I go to Wisconsin again for sure. So,
shout out for Sierra Rose, Jaden James, Cascade Winery, whatever you want to call them. Fantastic couple there.
If anybody that's watching this if you're from out of town and you want to come in, we're going to take you to Jaden James Brewing, because they're going to have a peanut butter porter that I'm just going to drink, and I'm going to drink some great wines. So
they have one of the best peanut butter porters ever.
They do. I mean, I agree. I think the Bob beats them out, but Bob doesn't have theirs all the time, where Jaden James has theirs on a constant.
All the time.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, everybody, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next week. We're talking about day trading and individual stocks.
Take care, y'all.